Hey guys, Pastor Sean coming to you from the garage here today, from the studio here in the garage. It's daytime, so it's a nice day outside, and I took the day off from work, and so I'm going to go play some golf after a while, and I wanted to go ahead and shoot the daily devotion and get it out to you. Last night we talked about the vine and the branches from John chapter 15, and I want to continue with that today. Yesterday we went down to about verse 8, and so I want to start with verse 9. John chapter 15, verse 9. It says, "As the Father has loved me, so I love you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love." Now watch what he says right here. "I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." Wow. Wow. He goes on to tell us that his command is that you love each other. You love each other as he has loved you. No greater love has any man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. But this is what I want to show you. We live in a world that is always looking for that completion, something to make me complete, something to make me whole again, something to restart and make me solid, make me whole, make me a complete person. This world is always looking for that. And Christ gives us the answer right here in John chapter 15. He says, "If you remain in my love and you obey my commandments, your joy will be complete." You'll be a complete person on the inside. You'll be perfectly fine living in this world because you'll have the joy of the Lord on the inside of you. Now, how do you know that, Pastor? Well, what happens is we're always searching, and then we find Christ. And when we find Christ, we experience salvation. Salvation is a moment in time event. It happens, you get saved, Christ comes into your heart, and you become a Christian, a child of God. And then you start following Christ. And the things that Christ tells you to do are not what you used to do. He says, love your enemies. Well, that wasn't the way that we were brought up. We were brought up that if somebody punches you, you punch them back. If somebody is attacking you, you attack back. We always taught that our enemies, we were to fight with them and put it. Jesus says, no. Love your enemies. Love your enemies, and I'll take care of everything else, because love covers a multitude of sin. And so when we become Christians, we reverse everything. The things that we used to hate, we now love, and the things that we used to love, we now hate. And so we become a new person, and we're looking for things to fill those gaps. Why? Because God takes things out of us during the sanctification process, and something has to fill that gap. Pastor, are you saying I'm going to have holes when... No. I'm saying that God's going to take things out of your life and put things back in that are more like him. Let's say you have a foul mouth. God's going to take that out. Let's say that you have a bad attitude. God's eventually going to take that out. Let's say that you just have an addiction in your life. God's going to take that out. Eventually, God's going to pull all of these things out of your life, like the silversmith that we've talked about so many times. The silversmith puts the silver on the tray. He begins to heat up the cistern, and all of the impurities begin to bubble to the top. And he takes the spatula, basically, and he rakes it across there and pulls all of those impurities out and throws them away. He gets rid of them, and he keeps the heat going so that more of that will come out. Well, what happens with God is when those impurities come out of you, when those things start to come out of you, he puts the love of Christ back in its place. And inside of that love of Christ are the seeds of the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, meekness, self-control, against which there are no law. Those are the things that God puts back in you when he takes things out of you. And that way, when you start to get frustrated with somebody, that peace comes on you, that peace that surpasses all understanding. When you start to feel some hatred or some bitterness in there, all of a sudden it's covered up by the love that God has put in your life. And Jesus said, as long as you remain in that love and obey my commandments, your joy will be complete. Have you ever seen somebody who just seems to have it all together? It's not me. I can tell you that it's not me. But have you ever seen somebody who seems like they've got it all together? If you talk with them and you really spend some time with them, I guarantee you Christ is living in their heart, because they have figured out that if they can remain in the love of Christ and they can obey his commandments, their joy will be complete. I have a dear friend of mine. He lives in Augusta, Harold Jones. Many of you may know him, he may not, but Harold is he's a retired minister, and he seems like he's just got it clicking on all 8 cylinders. He seems like he's got it all together. He told me many, many years ago, he said, Sean, he said, the reason that I seem like I got it, the reason of my joy is because I wake up every morning and ask, what can I do for you today, Lord? What can I do for you today? He's a servant. He has a servant's heart. He's not worried about what stage he's on. He's not worried about who's seeing him. He's worried about what he can do for Christ today. That's being a servant. That's being obedient. That's remaining in his love. That's following his commandments, is to ask God, what can I do today to lead somebody to Christ? What can I do today to help somebody out? And when we remain in that love, when we obey his commandments, our joy will be complete. Have you got emptiness? Have you got some holes that need to be filled? Let God fill them with his joy. Let God fill them with the love of Christ. Let God fill them with the things that need to be in there, and let him take out the things that don't need to be in there. Sanctification is a lifetime process. It's a lifetime process of God heating you up, pulling out the impurities, and placing new things inside of you, placing the love of Christ back inside of you. Now, if you don't think sanctification is a lifetime process, don't email me, don't text message me, don't wear me out on this feed. But I believe from my experience that sanctification is a lifetime process, because I know people who are pastors, who are evangelists, who are missionaries, who are leaders in denominations, who still have things that God is taking out of them and changing them and maturing them and growing them and putting them through the sanctification process, because he wants them to be more like Christ. He wants me to be more like Christ. He wants you to be more like Christ. So, as the Father has loved me, I love you. If you remain in me, I will remain in you. I've told you that if you remain in my joy and keep my commandments, your joy will be complete. If you're looking for joy, if you're looking for completion, get into the Word. Read what Christ has for you to do. Wake up every morning and ask him, Lord, what would you have me do today? And hold on to the love of Christ with everything you have. Don't get out of that. Don't be like the branch that's cut off. You're going to dry up and die. Don't be that person. Stay in Christ. Stay in the vine. Stay connected to the tree. Let the fruit of the Spirit blossom in your life. Let it produce good fruit in your life. Stay connected to Christ, and your joy and your happiness and your peace and your love and your life will be complete. I love you. I'm praying for you. I hope you have a magnificent day. God bless you as always, is my prayer.